Robert opened the mailbox on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, expecting nothing more than the usual pile of junk mail, and instead found a letter from Social Security that made his stomach drop. His and his wife Diane's Medicare premiums were going up, not by a few dollars, but by more than $200 a month for the entire year, and the letter didn't even explain why in a way that made sense to him. Robert wasn't reckless. He wasn't careless. He was a retired plant supervisor who had done everything textbook right for 30 years. And yet here he was staring at a number that felt like a punishment for a decision he barely remembered making. Here's the part that should really grab your attention. The decision that triggered this letter wasn't made last month. It was made 2 full years earlier. And the wildest part, crossing that income line by even one single dollar could be the difference between paying your normal Medicare premium and paying hundreds more a month for an entire year. Not a typo. $1. If you're on Medicare or you're getting close to it, do not scroll past this video because in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what happened to Robert and Diane, why this hidden rule catches even careful, responsible retirees off guard, and the specific steps you can take starting today to make sure it never costs you a single extra dollar. Before we go any further, just a quick heads up, this video is meant for education and general understanding only. Everyone's financial and tax situation is different. So before making any big decisions about withdrawals, Roth conversions, or appeals, it's always smart to sit down with a qualified financial advisor or tax professional who can look at your full picture. Now let's rewind and see exactly how Robert and Diane ended up in that situation, because their story is more common than you'd think. Robert is 66, a retired plant supervisor, and Diane is 64, a retired school administrator, both from Ohio. Together they had done everything right. They saved diligently in their 401k plans for over 30 years, built up close to $900,000 combined, and were proud of the fact that they never carried credit card debt. 2 years before that letter arrived, they decided to pay off the remaining balance on their vacation home by pulling a larger than usual withdrawal from Robert's traditional 401k, about $60,000 in 1 year. It felt like a smart move at the time. No more mortgage payment, more breathing room every month. But that withdrawal, combined with their normal retirement income, quietly pushed their reported income for that year past a threshold neither of them had ever heard of. And 2 years later, Medicare came looking for it. This brings us to another important point. Why does this catch so many retirees off guard? It's because nobody warns you in advance. There's no siren going off when you make that withdrawal. No bank teller tells you, hey, this might raise your Medicare bill in 2 years. It's a quiet, delayed consequence. And by the time you feel it, the decision that caused it is long behind you. That delay is exactly why so many well-meaning, financially responsible people get blindsided. And it's exactly what happened to Robert and Diane. Here's where things get interesting. There's a rule called IRMAA, which stands for Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. Don't worry about memorizing that mouthful. Just think of it as a surcharge. If your income crosses certain thresholds, Medicare tax on an extra amount to both your Part B premium, which covers doctor visits, and your Part D premium, which covers prescription drugs. And here's the part that shocks people the most. These thresholds aren't gradual. They work in steep steps. Cross the line by even $1, and you can get pushed into a whole new bracket, paying significantly more for the entire year. On top of that, what you pay this year is based on your income from 2 years ago, not what you're earning right now. So the premium hitting your mailbox today is really a reflection of a financial snapshot from your past. And that one detail alone is responsible for more retiree headaches than almost anything else in the entire system. We'll come back to Robert and Diane in just a moment, because their story doesn't end there. But first, let's talk about why this matters so much beyond just the dollar amount. Retirement is supposed to be about freedom. It's about spending time with grandkids, taking that trip you always dreamed about, having peace of mind that your savings will actually last. When unexpected costs like this show up, they don't just hit your wallet, they chip away at that sense of security you worked decades to build. That's exactly why understanding this system in advance is so powerful, because knowledge here isn't just informational, it's protective. So let's talk about the main strategy, the one that can actually make a real difference. The first thing every retiree and pre-retiree needs to understand is that IRMAA is based on what's called your Modified Adjusted Gross Income, or MAGI for short. Think of MAGI as your total taxable income with a few extra items added back in. The key insight here is that not all income counts the same way, and that gives you room to plan. Let's say you're approaching a year where you know you'll need a larger withdrawal, whether for a home repair, a medical expense, or a big purchase. Instead of pulling all of that money from a traditional IRA or 401k in one single year, which counts fully as taxable income, consider spreading that withdrawal across 2 separate years. This alone can sometimes keep you under a threshold and avoid triggering that surcharge altogether. Now, compare that to the alternative, taking it all at once, crossing the line, and paying extra for an entire year, sometimes even affecting both spouses on a joint Medicare situation. That's the difference between smart timing and an expensive surprise. Here's another piece of this puzzle that many retirees overlook. If you have money sitting in a Roth IRA, withdrawals from that account generally do not count toward your MAGI because you already paid taxes on that money years ago. This is one of the biggest advantages of having some retirement savings split between traditional and Roth accounts. Think about it like having 2 different pockets of money, one that adds to your taxable income when you use it, and one that doesn't. Having both gives you flexibility to control your income picture each year, almost like a dial you can adjust. Let's come back to Robert and Diane for a moment. After learning what triggered their premium increase, they made a decision. Instead of continuing to pull large lump sums from Robert's traditional 401k, they began working with a tax professional to plan smaller, more strategic withdrawals each year, and they started converting a portion of their traditional funds into a Roth IRA gradually during lower income years to build up that tax-free pocket for the future. It wasn't a magic fix overnight, but within 2 years, their income was back under the threshold, and their premiums dropped back down to the standard amount. They didn't just save money, they got their peace of mind back. Later, I promised I'd show you the strategy that catches most retirees completely off guard. And here it is. Many people don't realize that if your income drops due to a specific life event, retirement itself, the death of a spouse, divorce, or even a significant reduction in work hours, you can actually file what's called a life-changing event form with Social Security, officially known as Form SSA-44. This form lets you tell Medicare, in plain terms, that the old income number they're using doesn't reflect your real life anymore, and it can allow them to reassess your premium based on more current, accurate information instead of that outdated 2-year-old number. Most retirees have absolutely no idea this form even exists, and they simply accept the higher premium without ever questioning it. If your income has genuinely changed for one of these qualifying reasons, filling out this one form could save you hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars over the following year. Now let's talk about a few advanced tips that can help you stay ahead of this every single year going forward. First, always take a moment each year, ideally sometime in the fall, to estimate your expected income before you make any large withdrawals or big financial moves. This gives you a chance to course correct before you accidentally cross a threshold. Second, remember that required minimum distributions, often called RMDs, count toward your income too, and those become mandatory once you reach a certain age, so factor those in when planning ahead. Third, if you're charitably inclined, consider looking into qualified charitable distributions from an IRA, because those can sometimes satisfy your RMD requirement while not counting as taxable income at all, which can help keep your MAGI lower. Before we wrap up, let's build a simple checklist you can keep in the back of your mind every year. Review your expected income each fall before any big financial decisions. Understand which accounts count toward your MAGI and which ones don't. Consider spreading out large withdrawals across multiple years whenever possible. If your income has dropped due to a major life event, look into filing an appeal instead of just accepting the higher premium. And finally, talk with a qualified tax or financial professional before making any big money moves, especially 2 to 3 years before or during your Medicare years, since that's exactly when these decisions have the biggest ripple effect. Let's take a step back and think about the bigger picture here. Retirement should feel like the reward for decades of hard work, not a maze of hidden rules waiting to surprise you. The good news is that once you understand how this system works, you're no longer at its mercy. You become the one steering the ship. Robert and Diane didn't need to be financial experts to fix their situation. They just needed the right information at the right time. And now you have that same information in your hands. I want to leave you with this thought. You've already done the hard part. You saved, you planned, you made it to this stage of life. Protecting what you've built is simply the next step. And now you have one more tool in your toolbox to do exactly that. I'd love to hear from you. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been surprised by a jump in your Medicare premium? And did you know what caused it? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you know someone who's retired or getting close to it, someone who could use a heads up before this catches them off guard, do them a favor and share this video with them. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I truly appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.